Folks, yesterday Todd Blanche began his confirmation hearing for Attorney General of the United States. And Todd Blanche is a guy that was selected personally by President Trump. And one senator, John Cornyn, spent the entire day grilling him over the Epstein files.
The department's handling of the investigation and release of Epstein files.
Now, you probably looked at this and thought, you know what? Cornyn's just bitter because President Trump backed somebody else and he lost his primary to another handpicked candidate from the president. But I want to tell you that this is bigger than that, and it ties directly into election integrity and the Save America Act, period. You see, last September, John Cornyn had the chance to unseal the Epstein files, and he chose not to. He voted to keep them sealed. That's right. 51-49. The Senate killed the vote. Cornyn voted with the majority to kill it. Only two Republicans broke ranks for release. That was Rand Paul and Josh Hawley. Cornyn wasn't one of them. And that same summer, he told his own colleagues on the record that the Epstein case was, quote, a great distraction from issues that make a meaningful difference in the lives of ordinary Americans. Does that sound like a man who cares about transparency? That's a man who calls transparency a distraction right up until the day it's useful to him. Now, he's the only Republican right now standing in the way of Todd Blanche being confirmed as our next Attorney General. The committee met yesterday, and it sits 11 Republicans and 10 Democrats after Lindsey Graham's passing. And one vote from Cornyn is enough to sink Todd Blanche's nomination by itself. Now, before we go any further, I want to give you a little background on Mr. Blanche, okay? Todd has already served as Deputy AG. He was Trump's personal attorney at one point. The Senate has confirmed him for that position once before. So what's the difference now? Well, I'm here to tell you that the difference is circumstance. You see, the increasing pressure right now to move forward on the Save America Act is causing Senate leadership to panic.
Very big thing for the American people, which is the president's priority, the White House's priority, the entire Trump administration's priority is to actually get the Save America Act passed.
And they're using this hearing as an opportunity. Now, if I've lost you, here's what I mean. This week, House Republicans finally broke this month-long standoff, and they've merged the Save America Act into a bill funding the State Department, a bill the government actually needs to stay open. 215 to 211 on the procedural vote. 217 to 219 on the bill itself. Anna Paulina Luna was one of the holdouts, and she forced this deal. And she said flat out that if the Senate strips the SAVE Act, the blame is going to fall on one man, and that's Senate Majority Leader John Thune. She said that by name on the record. That was her condition for ending the blockade. So now, Thune is stuck. Okay, Chuck Schumer's already said the SAVE Act provision is dead on arrival in the Senate because Thune doesn't have 60 votes to beat the filibuster. Fine. But the only way to actually kill it now is to strip it out of the bill. And if they do, they potentially risk a whole hell of a lot. Thune personally would risk a hell of a lot in public with his name on the vote. He can't win that fight. He cannot survive losing it out in the open either. Now, my read on this is that, and I want to be straight with you, this is my opinion, okay? I'm basing this on the fact that I understand the president, okay? I know him, been endorsed by him. I've watched how this guy works, okay? I've also been in D.C., spent a lot of time there. In my professional capacity, had an office right on K Street. I know how this town works from the inside. My read is John Thune and Senate leadership are trying to work behind the scenes on a deal that only gets cut if it's worth something to Trump's team. And Todd Blanche's confirmation is sitting right there as the bargaining chip. Now you run that play through Cornyn because Cornyn's already took his hit publicly in that primary. Nobody else in the Senate on the Republican side has the balls to be seen crossing President Trump in public. But Cornyn already has. It's cost him, okay? But this time, it doesn't cost him anything. The only thing he gets is to be called the one that's holding this up. But he's doing so to stall time, so that Senate leadership can try to bargain something out of this deal. And it's a negotiation that we'll never see. Now, this is legit. This is how it works in D.C. I'm not saying Trump's admin or Trump himself are welcoming this. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is they're going to have to react to it. And I think we're going to see some of that reaction tonight at 9 p.m. But let's back up for a second, because there's two more pieces of this that I want you to understand. Yesterday, the same Senator, John Cornyn, went after something else entirely. Now, why don't you take a look? $1.8 billion tied to a settlement that includes Trump, his sons, and the IRS. And Blanche's answer was clean. No agreement has been changed. Nothing's been signed. The question was answered. But Cornyn still wasn't satisfied.
Writing to delete the weaponization fund, and there's no guarantee that he or one of the other plaintiffs might raise that issue by way of a lawsuit and a breach of contract lawsuit in the future.
Well, Senator, the plaintiffs have no power over the fund. The fund.
So if it's not the fund, and it's not the Epstein files, and it's not some brand of new concern that is revolving around the files that, I guess, override what he called a distraction 8 months ago, then what is it? Look at the calendar. May 19th. Trump endorsed Ken Paxton over Cornyn in the Texas state primary, Senate primary. 9 days later, Ken Paxton stomped him. 63.8 to 36.2? I'll put it up on the screen, but I mean, that's not close. Trump said afterwards, Cornyn was not supportive of me when times were tough. And Cornyn's Senate career ended in January. So see, Cornyn has nothing left to lose and one grudge left to settle. But he can bridge build. He can retain some rapport with Senate leadership, because you know what these guys do. They go into the lobbyist world. So if he's doing a handshake behind the deal, if he's pausing time for Senate Leader Thune, and all these other guys, they're going to reward him on the back end when he's not a senator anymore. Okay, but that's who's sitting across from Trump's AG asking about transparency that he personally voted against. Now, if you want to see which way that committee vote actually breaks next week, hit subscribe. Okay? Here's the whole picture, though. Cornyn isn't a principled holdout. He's a senator who called the Epstein files a distraction when it protected his own party, and now calls them a crisis when it lets him settle the score. And in my opinion, when it lets the leadership run a fight through him that they're too chicken shit to put their own fingerprints on. Thune is boxed in on the Save America Act, and Cornyn is the one who can take the public heat so nobody else on that committee has to. And that is not oversight. It's not a confirmation hearing. That's two operators running the same play. Cornyn didn't discover principles this month. He found a grudge, and leadership recognized that discovery and labeled a use for it. I've watched our establishment run this exact maneuver. Hell, they did it on me. Okay? I know what it looks like from the inside, folks. And I'm telling you, this is what this is. A senator who voted against transparency is now grilling a nominee about it. Senate Majority Leader who can't win a vote and can't survive losing one in public. So keep an eye on the committee vote this week. I think it's next week. And watch what happens with the Save America Act right alongside it, because in my opinion, whichever way both of these things break, this was never really about the Epstein files. And unfortunately, this confirmation hearing was never really about Todd Blanche. And it should have been. It absolutely should have been. So thanks for watching, folks. I hope this resonates with you. Hope it shines a light on the BS. These guys are slick operators. This is what they do for a living. They're not there to pass legislation for our benefit. They're not there to fight for us. They're there to protect their own asses and maintain their levels of power. That's all they're there for. So, hope you tune in to Trump's address to the nation tonight. I'll be live streaming it at 8:45. And a good friend of mine that some of you may know, his name is Red Pill 78, also goes by Zach. We're going to figure out how we can multi-stream this and have it on both of our channels. He obviously has a much bigger platform than I do, so he's willing to help a brother out. So I hope to see you there tonight, folks. And look, keep an eye on these folks, because if we're not watching them, obviously nobody else will. We'll see you tonight.